Hey there everyone, I'm Alex. My hair's an absolute mess today. I've been playing Magic the Gathering for the past 20 or 30-ish years. I can't quite remember because time is currently freaking meaningless. But I started out playing with my best friend in his bedroom, building decks out of a huge box of cards that he had. I got into playing on local tournament levels, though never quite competitive with other players back during the Ravnica block. I since learned that EDH is my favorite format because it attracts more casual players, and the casual players tend to have more fun. I tend to run, in particular, group hug and politics strategies because I think the game is most fun and winning is most fun when everybody's in their strongest state. So I'll give my opponents mana, I'll give them draws, I'll give them creatures, and all of that because I want to make sure they're at their highest point before I crush them. With all of that said, today I want to take a look at this card. Oh my god. This card, Mana Cache. Now, this is a very old card. And boy, oh boy, can you tell by that text. There we go. We're going to upsize that a bit so that we can see it. So, Mana Cache is an enchantment from God knows when. It costs 2 red and 1, and it reads, at the end of each player's turn, put a charge counter on Mana Cache for each untapped land that player controls. Remove a charge counter from Mana Cache. Add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool. Any player may play this ability only during his or her turn before the end phase. That is a whole lot of words. But what this means is that at the end of any player's turn, if they have lands untapped, you get counters onto Mana Cache equal to that number of lands, and after that point, you can pull counters off of Mana Cache in order to spend colorless mana. Now, this card I originally thought of as an honor check, because I had thought, well, what players are going to do is they're going to spend all of the colorless mana off of this card, and they're just never going to spend their own mana, because why would you? For colorless? Why would I ever need to spend mana ever again? I'm just gonna make sure my opponents don't tap out entirely, and I'm gonna make sure that, I'm not ever going to tap out either. And originally I thought that this was going to be a really, really bad thing for this card. I was going to get very frustrated. But what I found is that players don't tend to do that. Now, what led to this assumption was the removal of a rule from Magic the Gathering that used to exist in the game called Mana Burn. Mana Burn was if you tapped a land for mana, then didn't use that mana, you took 1 damage per unspent mana. They didn't want you tapping lands and not using them. When they did away with that rule, I thought Mana Cache was dead. I have played this card in out of the 13 or 16, however many games I've played since putting it in my deck. I've played it in about 3, and every time, actually, my opponents tended to not use Mana Cache quite as often as I did. Now, this is, of course, because it's my card. I'm the one who's more aware of what's going on my side of the board, even if every single turn I'm going, so you have 2 untapped lands, I see? Okay, thank you. And even if my opponents were to entirely take advantage of Mana Cache itself, they wouldn't then go and tap their own lands down because you need to be able to react to your opponent. So either Mana Cache locks your opponent out of responding to your plays, or it makes it so that you get access to extra mana, because nobody's going to be like, oh, I'm going to tap down my 7 mountains, and now nobody gets the mana from Mana Cache, and oh, I'm just going to drain the Mana Cache, and that's the scenario I saw everything going into. However, when it comes down to it, there is no such thing as an honor check on Mana Cache because people want to use their resources effectively and efficiently. I can see maybe a turn where a player doesn't have any instants or abilities that they can use players draining the mana cache and then tapping everything out, and maybe. But that seems so highly illogical and improbable because players want to use their resources. They want to be effective and efficient with what they have available to them. Mana Cache is a very fun, very good card. It requires some player training of your opponents. You have to remind them, hey, you have access to free, colorless mana if you want to use it. You have to remind them that, hey, you could use this to punch me in the face right now. And I know I shouldn't be telling you to punch me in the face, but like, I guess I'm kind of into that. I don't know. um and after a couple of games, your opponents will start to like more naturally look around the board. This is a really, really good way to get players to do so because this is 100% benefit to both you and your opponents, which not many cards tend to be. So yeah, Mana Cache, an excellent card. If what you want to do is the whole group hug feature. It also means that your opponents become more mindful of how they're spending their mana. They might actually decide, hey, I actually want to hold on to some mana till next turn. So what I'm gonna do is that mana cache, I'm gonna wait and let the mana go into the cache, and then over the course of the next turn, hopefully nobody spends out. This can be, this can turn a game into a Dan or something like that, which is it's so good. It's a ton of fun, and I hope more players get to experience Mana Cache. But I think that's really it for my initial thoughts here on Mana Cache. If you are interested in more thoughts from the perspective of a player who enjoys EDH, who enjoys politics, and enjoys group hug play, hopefully what I have to say will interest you.